Hey, everybody, welcome to episode number 37 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. You know, financial stress, we talk about it often on this show. It affects every area of our lives, which means that it's affecting the one area that we depend on to make money, which is our jobs and our careers. Yes, that's right. So today, we are going to be taking time and sharing how financial stress is affecting job performance and how taking control of your finances can actually help you improve your professional life overall. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we're helping normal, everyday people learn how to save money and kick debt so they can live a happier and stress-free life. Now here's your host, Debt Free Dad, Brad Nelson.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad, and welcome to today's show. So today we're kind of getting back to that financial stress topic we talk about a lot here on this show and how financial stress is affecting lots of different areas. And one of those areas is most certainly your career. Money stress is causing work problems. Financial stress leads to being less productive at work because obviously if you're using a lot of energy worrying about your finances, you're not concentrating on work. In fact, a report from Salary Finance and MotleyFool.com found that 42% of workers worry about their finances throughout the day. They say that workers are 9 times, listen to this is crazy, 9 times more likely to let their money concerns affect their quality of work, 9 times more likely to affect or have difficult relationships with their coworkers. So it affects relationships, not only just at work, but also in your marriage. You see how those all go together, right? And twice as likely to be looking for a new job on a regular basis. So, guys, when you guys see that statistic, I mean, to me, honestly, I live this. This stuff does not surprise me at all, like not even a little bit. I know for a fact that when I was working at a job, I spent a considerable amount of time worrying about money.
Definitely. I worked at a job I hated for a really long time. I cried when I went home in my car. It was horrible, but I had to stay there because I had to pay the bills.
That's the worst feeling ever. I'm sure there's so many people out there that listen to this that could totally relate to that.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
It's terrible. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, you look at, like you said, 9 times more likely to be looking for a new job or twice as likely to be looking for a new job. And I think that is, I get that, especially when you have to make the bills and you're looking for that next, hey, if I go here, I get $1 more or $2 more or $3 more. Those people, and I remember being like that, is very driven by money. That next amount of money is what's going to help me get out of debt or help me pay my bills or, I'll be able to get this or buy this if I get that next job.
Yeah. And I think the money side definitely plays a role into it, but I think, wouldn't you guys agree that, I don't know, I can definitely tell you that I almost started to resent my job, be upset more with my job. And it wasn't even my job's fault. It was me. It was my problem. Like I was the one with all the credit cards. I was the one with all the problems, the debt. And it didn't, it seemed no matter how much money my job would give me for that, it didn't fix any problems. So I think that's another reason why we look for other jobs when we're dealing with financial challenges is because, we're not really engaged with where we work because we're pointing the finger at other people. And we talked about that on a couple of other episodes that we've had on this podcast. But financial stress, does it affect engagement at work? In fact, this is from an article and study on Gallup.com. It says the percentage of workers who are actively disengaged, workers who have miserable work experiences, very similar to what Amber was just talking about, is now at its lowest level, which is good, 13%, making the current ratio of engaged to actively disengaged employees 2.6 to 1. This is the highest ever in Gallup tracking, which means that this is improving, which is a good thing. These findings are based on a random sample of 30,628 full and part-time U.S. employees working for an employer from January to June of 2018. Now, the remaining 53%, that's over half of the workers, remind you, are in the not engaged category. They may be generally satisfied, but are not cognitively and emotionally connected to their work and their workplace. They will usually show up to work and do the minimum required, but will quickly leave their company for a slightly better offer. So without a doubt, I know 100%, just in my own experience, that your engagement, the quality of work that you provide to your career, to your workplace, I think it drastically goes down if you're dealing with a lot of financial stress. In fact, I can remember going back and losing my house when I was going through divorce. That was like, I remember the collectors calling. I mean, I wasn't focused on anything work-related during that time. I was so stressed out about that house. I know work performance went down, and I was just happy I had a boss that at least understood what I was going through. But it definitely affects it. There's no question.
Yeah, I think you look at some of those numbers in there too, and you go 13%. Wow, that's pretty low, And if you look at our goal of living a happier life, and a stress-free financial life, if you kind of extrapolate that 13% out, if you take 1 million workers, it means 130,000 people are miserable at work. And so when you put some numbers, so 13% sounds great, but when you take the millions of workers, there's millions of people who hate their job every day, and they do it because they have to do it, not because they want to, because, and again, some people have to. You got to put food on the table. You run into rough times, you do what you got to do. But for the people where there's a choice, and the choice is because you've made poor financial decisions, and the reason you're going to work every day is because you got big payments that you shouldn't have put yourself into, that is something you can change, and I live that. I know how that feels. I think all of us have lived that feeling of putting yourself in those positions where it's like, man, I'm really doing what I don't like doing for stuff I don't even really like that much.
Right, exactly. And then you think about, this is a good kind of money hack tip we give people, but it's like, if you don't like your job, instead of asking how much it costs, ask yourself how much work and hours do you have to put in at that crummy job to pay for that item. Your whole attitude
I
towards
hate that question, Brad.
your whole attitude towards buying stuff is going to drastically change, because you're literally buying those items with your time spent at that miserable job. It changes a lot of different stuff, or your mindset for sure. But yeah, I mean, you bring that up, Brian. 13% and then 53% are not engaged. That means 66%. Almost 7 out of 10 workers are just like not into it at work. That's astounding. I mean, it really, really is. So I think is personal finance the answer to all of that? No, by no means. But it does play a significant role. There's no question.
There was so many hours that I would be on the phone calling credit companies or student loans. I had countless hours that I was at my job, not doing my job, because I was so worried about my finances and dealing with that at home. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think employers, I think, have to recognize that as well. We talk a lot about, I think we just did an episode on should personal finance be taught in schools and all this other stuff. And I think it's important for employers to realize that financial stress, it plays a factor on your people's productivity and what they're giving to your company. That it's still the taboo subject. We provide all sorts of help to our employees, but still, when it comes to financial, training, assistance, any of that, not saying it's not out there, but it's just not as readily available. If you went to your employer and said, hey, I'm having struggling with my finances, I don't know that they'd give you a bunch of resources. They'd probably look at you like, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
pay your bills.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely people on the corporate level that I think are seeing more of that stuff happen. But for the smaller businesses that are out there, you're thinking 500 employees or less, even 100 employees or less. A lot of those companies don't have those types of resources and programs. No, there's no question. Right. And kind of going back to what we were talking about, I think, if your finances are really causing you to struggle, they're really causing financial stress. And again, it's the number one cause of stress and anxiety is money and personal finance problems. I think you can fall into this area of pointing the finger and blaming, your work or your job that you're not making enough money or they don't value you enough. And here's what I'm going to tell you what I know to be true. And just from working with lots of people over the years is that most people that I work with who are struggling with their finances make a good living. They actually make good money. It's not bad. It's not like everyone who I deal with is just not making enough money. No, it's actually quite the opposite. It's the expenses, it's the spending habits, it's the choices that are causing a lot of the problems. And if we can get those things fixed, a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with a lot of the stress that you're dealing with is going to naturally go away. Now, it takes time. It takes time to do a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here on this show, but it'll naturally reduce a lot of the stress, allowing you to focus more at work. But, for me, back in the day, guys, I'd get those raises, I remember, and I would quickly find ways. It's like I would quickly calculate out, okay, how much more extra money am I going to make? And I would immediately start thinking, okay, what other thing can I buy that's got a payment, right? It's either a better car or just I'm going to go buy something to put on a credit card or whatever it might be. I was always thinking about what's the next thing I can get my hands on. It was never, how can I take this money and improve my financial life? No, it was, how can I actually make my life worse is what I was always focused on.
100%. I mean, and I think we get out of, you get to be an adult and you start working, and as you work and you make more money, we all have the best of intentions. I mean, I had the best of intentions every year. When I get a raise, I'm going to put more in my 401k and I'm going to do the right thing. And then the raise time would come and be like, yeah, we have a little bit more money. I can afford the $35 a month payment for the furniture or whatever else seems fun at the time, because doing the hard stuff, the sacrificing and the waiting, that sucks and it's boring. In the middle of, when you're just riding that wave of buying things, it's like, I don't want to wait 4 years to buy my furniture. I want it now and I'll pay for it for 4 years.
Right.
And I remember when we started our debt-free journey, we thought we weren't making enough money. We're like, we need to find better jobs. We need to make more money. And then all of a sudden we start doing this budget thing and we're like looking at our finances and looking where our money's going. And we're like, holy crap, we make a decent amount of money. Yep. So it was a shock to us that it wasn't a money problem. It was a us problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And that leads us right into our next point. It's great. I mean, you either might be in a situation where you want a different job, but you're stuck, or you might be beating yourself up thinking that you don't make enough money. But in fact, like Amber just pointed out, you do. You likely do make enough money. You just have to change the choices and the behavior. But a lot of people, I think, if you're sitting in this 66%, maybe you're somewhat satisfied with your job, but you're just not completely into it. Maybe you just lost your passion or your buzz for it, whatever it might be. Well, many people build a life around that salary or that paycheck that they're getting, right? So you're buying car payments and going out and buying a bigger house or financing your vacations or whatever it might be. And before you know it, you're building this lifestyle around the money that you're making. But now all of a sudden, the mental side of the game, the engagement side, the performance side, the passion side for what you do for a living, where you spend the majority of your waking hours, has now gone throughout the years. And now you're stuck having to live with this salary and all this debt because you're stuck. You can't get out of it. And I think that creates even more disengagement at work because now you've got things like anger and guilt and all of those nasty, gross feelings that come along with some of those bad choices.
I know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, this is where I really think this is where I think there's a connection between that engagement. The Gallup study is a lot about work culture and engagement and all that sort of stuff. But I think that my personal opinion is I think there is an underlying factor. And I do believe that surrounding yourself with a bunch of stuff and getting stuck in a job is a key factor in being engaged at your job. Because I think if you ask most people, and if you're younger listening to this, chances are what you start doing right now is not what you're going to be doing in 20 years. Most people don't do the job they think they're going to do forever. And you just don't want to be sitting in a spot in 20 years hating what you do and you're just miserable, but you have no choice. And your option is, I don't have any other way to do this. We just spend way too much time at work for that to be your life. So there's a saying everybody always says, you ever see anybody unhappy on a boat? And I'm like, you're right. They're always smiling on the boat, but the 95% of the time they're not on the boat, they're miserable. So I'll take the 95% of the time being happy and the 5% of the time being unhappy because I don't have the boat yet.
Yeah, right. It's so true. That was awesome. But yeah, it's so true. Yep.
My husband was able to take a demotion and he dropped down into a different pay and go back to his old job that he wanted because we didn't have any debt. It gave him the opportunity to do that. Had he taken the promotion a few years before, we probably would have accumulated more stuff and he would have been stuck there. But because of it happened when it did, he decided after a couple of years, I don't like this promotion. I'm not happy. I want to go back down to my other position. He was able to do that. No questions asked. And now he's like so happy. He comes home, no stress. With the other position, it was stress all the time. It wasn't worth the extra pay. So he was able to just take that demotion and go ahead and go back to his old position, which was fantastic for everybody.
Yep. It's so true. Even with running this business, he's like, I may wake up one day and say, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm just maybe not having fun with it anymore, or I want to try something different, or whatever it might be. It's the same practice here. Like, I'm not building a lifestyle around the income that this business is going to generate, because then I'm stuck in this business. And I don't want to be stuck. Having true financial freedom is about having choices, being able to make different choices, and being able to decide, hey, I'm going to stop doing that now. Could I stop entirely doing it and just turn off the switch just like that? No, I'd have to wean off of it and kind of build up a new career. Yeah, there would be a little bit of a process, but to say that I'm completely stuck, that just isn't going to happen, because we're managing our finances and we're making sure that we're saving money, we're putting money away, and that money is there if we ever decide to make new and different choices. We also don't live a very luxurious lifestyle, so it's very easy for us to say, you know what, heck, even if I wanted to go work for somebody else, which I don't see that happening, I could easily do that and probably afford to make the transition fairly easily, because, again, we haven't built up this crazy expensive lifestyle where I wouldn't be able to have that opportunity. The other thing, too, and I hear this one a lot, especially from men, is I work too many hours, have too many jobs, and especially I work with a lot of their significant others, and that's some of their goals, is that I want my husband or my significant other just to not have to work so much. And, a lot of people might just not be happy with their job because they're just freaking worn out. If you're working overtime at that job, and then maybe you're going to work a second job, and heck, even some of the people I've talked to, they have a third job. It's really hard to really enjoy much of anything when you're running yourself ragged.
And this is tough, because I think it's really tied to, you can really lose the love for your job when your job becomes a job, like a job, like when what you love becomes a grind because you have to pay for the lifestyle you're trying to support. And I do think this is important, because I think a lot of people do lose sight of this. And they think that another job is what the fix is. And sometimes it's just reducing the hours, and you'll find your passion and love for what you used to do. It's just, you don't want to be there 80 hours a week doing it anymore.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about just a few things that you can do to get started and hopefully reduce financial stress and hopefully help you be able to improve your career. And we're going to talk about what are some great benefits of getting out of debt, and how is that going to help you improve your career. We'll be right back. Hey, many people I work with want to get out of debt, and many of them are also looking for ways to rid themselves of financial stress and finally being able to get to the point where they can start saving some money. Wouldn't that be fantastic? That's why I created this free course, 10 Easy Money Saving Ideas that you can start today. Literally, you can start using these tips today. And when you join, you're going to get a free downloadable PDF guide that walks you through all the tips. Not only that, but we're also going to give you 10 video lessons that walk you through every single tip in more detail. Also, we're going to give you some action items that you can start to begin to make some changes that are going to help you save more money and fill up that piggy bank. So head on over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on tools and courses in the menu, and get free access to this course today. Hey guys, we are back, and we're talking about how financial stress affects your career and your professional life. So now that we kind of went through all the ways that it most likely is affecting that career, what can you do about this? Like, how can you start changing the direction of where you're going? Number one, you got to be committed to this. Like, this isn't going to be something that's going to accidentally fix itself. And I think that's where it starts. Number one is you just got to make a commitment to yourself that you want to improve your finances. A couple of other ones, just as getting on a basic budget. We've got a whole podcast that talks about just basic, simple tips on starting your first budget. Get yourself on a cash flow plan. And then, working on building that first emergency fund, and then making a serious plan to pay off your debt. And guys, maybe you guys can share a little bit about this, because we've all been through this, but I can tell you that just by doing these basic things, and getting serious and making progress, I was able to focus more on my career, which only helped improve my career. And we're going to talk about some of those improvements that can happen once you're able to actually focus on work while you're actually working.
We just downsized our life. I mean, we were the epitome of building our life around our salary, and everything we made went to paying bills and living in a nice house and having new cars and having all of that stuff. So for us, it was what really helped us a lot was kind of making that decision to not build a life around our salary, to live below our means and not just spend all of our money on stuff and things. And so, getting on a budget, building an emergency fund, that was all really important for us. But really that mindset shift for us was getting out of that keeping up with everybody else mentality and getting into a life that we're living for us, not a life that we're living for social media or for whatever others' approval. It was a life that we wanted to live and be happy with and not be stuck in a situation that we couldn't make decisions of what we want to do in the future.
Yeah, I'd say kind of the same thing with us. We decided that we needed less stuff. And we just kind of stopped spending, and it really made a huge difference. Paul got a promotion. Like it all just kind of started to happen, and he didn't like the promotion, but that's besides the point. He started really focusing and doing better at work, and then all of a sudden they're offering him a better job. So, and it was all because we had less stress at home.
It's amazing. You two both said the same thing, and for those of you listening, maybe you guys caught it, but you guys both said the number one thing for you guys was just less stuff. And it's amazing how much less stress you have just by not focusing on getting more stuff. It is just that whole decision alone. It can be so
It wasn't easy. To stop shopping or to stop getting that new phone or, to live with the phone for an extra year. It wasn't easy, but it made a difference.
Yeah, it does. Right. So when you make these changes and you improve your finances and get out of debt, here are the things that you're likely going to see. And again, I've seen this in my own life, and Brian and Amber, you guys can talk about maybe what you guys saw in yours, but this also comes from a lot of the Roots members and people that we've helped. You're going to see improved job performance because from a mental standpoint, you're no longer spending a lot of mental energy on your personal finances because you got a plan. You know what's going on. It's not like you're worried about the bills. When's the paycheck going to come out? Are you going to have enough? What's my wife and my husband going to think? And, just on and on and on and on. Right? You have a plan. You can be confident in that plan. So you have immediate improved job performance because you're going to be focused on work while you're at work. You're going to likely see pay raises and promotions. Amber, you talked about this with Paul, but we see this all the time in Roots. It's amazing how many people we see that get promotions and that or get different job opportunities even. We see it all the time. In fact, we just had Levi and Kira on who saved and paid off well over $400,000 just a little over 3 years. And Levi was one of those people who were saying, it's like, I just kept getting more promotions and I started to make more money because, again, I was focusing on work while I was at work. You're also going to have a better attitude towards your job and towards other people like your family, right? Which is really, really important. So attitudes are going to change. Contentment. Maybe you're going to find that you actually have joy in what you do. And, like we kind of talked about, maybe it's just the fact that you didn't have to work 80 hours at it every week to make it work. Maybe you actually do like what you do for a living. And then lastly, you've got the opportunity to make different choices. And I think this is the biggest one for me. And I talked about this for me and my business right now. It's having the opportunity to make a different choice when you want to do that. Maybe you want to take another job. Maybe like Amber and Paul wanted to take a demotion because it was stressing him out. He didn't want to do that anymore. He had the choice to make that happen because they were debt free. Maybe you want to open your own business. Maybe you want to start something different. But you're going to have the opportunity to do a lot of those things once you start reducing a lot of this financial stress that you're dealing with.
Yeah, and when you think of improved job performance and pay raises and promotions, I know it's hard to think through some of that, but if you have being financially free provides you a sense of courage, kind of like the cowardly lion from the Wizard of Oz.
Right, don't be going out and getting anyone fired now.
I do. I truly believe that when you get that, you may have just an awesome idea and a way to just rocket your business. You're going to do that. You just cannot, you want to say something, but you don't want to say anything because I'm not going to rock the boat. I need this job. If they don't like it, I could get fired. I'm just going to keep quiet. When those triggers go away, you're going to find yourself more open to share your opinion and share your thoughts. And you know what? If they don't like it, I can take this and go somewhere else. I'm worth more. I can take my abilities to another company and help them. Your just whole mindset shifts. I'm not advocating you go in and tell people off or be rude or anything like that. But I do think it does bring a sense of not being so fearful of sharing an opinion or what you think, or if something's not right and you want to tell your boss, you're more apt to want to share that stuff when you don't have all this fear of, oh my gosh, what would I do if I get fired? Like, it's like, man, I just go find something else. I'll be fine.
Yep. Because you've reduced so much risk. You've reduced so much risk on your salary. Yep. I totally agree. It's the same thing about starting this business. It's like, how many people told me this was going to fail? Like, Brad, this ain't going to work. Like, this, you're never going to be able to help anybody. No one's going to pay for that. Like, you're never going to be able to make a full-time salary. I can't tell you how many people doubted that this was going to work. And I didn't even know if it was going to work. And I had $2,000 saved up. I said, hey, we're going to start it with $2,000. I went part-time at my job, eventually quit my job within a year, and I went at this full-time. And I did that with very little risk because we had worked our way towards that opportunity. So it's really the same thing. But yes, you're absolutely correct. When you have less financial stress and you have more financial security, yeah, you become a lot more vocal and stand up for your opinions. There's no question about it. Hopefully those tips helped you out. And again, it just serves, again, what this podcast is all about is just to make you more aware of how personal finance and how money, it can affect every area of your life. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're struggling with your finances, this is just one more area that can improve for you when you start to take action.
Hey, what's this I see? I thought this was a party! Let's dance!
All right. That sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show. By the way, we probably need to update that celebration music because our podcast is getting more popular. We probably need to kind of come up with our own celebration music. We're not just the little one episode anymore. All right, let's kick it off with Sally and Ness. We paid $600 towards credit cards as well as bought an outdoor sectional and a new barbecue with cash saved. I love that. Great job.
Deb Westphal, no takeout all week. I'm actually a pretty awesome cook, if I do say so myself.
Heck yeah, way to go.
Not me, her.
Ruth Hess Koch, I have my $1,000 emergency fund with money going into it every payday.
Heck yeah, way to go, Ruth. Congratulations to you. Anastasia Pierce, this whole week we ate at home, no takeout, no delivery. That's an awesome win. They said they made lunches to take to work, trying to save up money for Colorado in September for a friend's wedding. Awesome. Great job.
Brandon Belger made an extra $400 due to working overtime. Now just deciding whether to put it towards bills or to save it.
Awesome. Yep. Way to go, Brandon. If your emergency fund's not built, put in your emergency fund. If your emergency fund is built, you pay down debt. So great job.
Amber Thornton, my hubby got a surprise bonus today. My normal reaction to that is to want to spend it to celebrate. I got the best feeling ever when I gave those dollars jobs, including setting aside our first emergency fund.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's huge. Such a huge win, especially starting that emergency fund. Those are probably the best wins that we get. I mean, people talk about that being probably the best win out of paying out of debt. It's just because the first time they start to win. So that's great. So great job, everybody. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us here today. We love your feedback, and it also helps us grow our show. So please give us a like and leave us some honest feedback. And if you want the latest from the show, be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel. And if you heard that commercial for our free course, 10 money-saving ideas that you could start today during the show, head over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on tools and courses, and sign up today. We'll see you on an upcoming show. Take care.